Said I grew up in a religious cult, willing to do whatever it took. And so, that being said, I decided to, live under what they said a woman should do. And I started waking up and thinking, maybe this isn't right. And maybe I don't have to fit into this tiny box. Maybe the things that I've always wanted to do with my life are the things that I'm supposed to do. So I think really focusing on what you can control and giving it your all, and being okay with your all not being enough to make it okay. We all think courage and resilience is this giant decision. And it's not. It's not like you just wake up one day and like, fuck this, I'm just going to walk away. No, it's the little things that you do leading up to it.
The power you seek lies within you, as we are each infinite beings living a human experience. The truth of who and what we are has been hidden from us until now. Awaken, my friends, to this new reality that we are in fact creating everything through the power and the gift of our wonderful imagination. Join me as I unlock the secrets of our past and reveal the truth that has been clouded in this veil we call life. What reality will you choose to create today? The choice is yours. Welcome, my friends, to My Reality Practice. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us today on the Reality Practice podcast. Today's guest is Rebekah Chamberlain. Rebekah is a mom, coach, speaker, runner, realtor, and fiancé. Overcoming some serious trauma early in life, being raised in a religious cult, in addition to being forced into an arranged marriage at the age of 20, she has persevered and escaped her previous reality and has discovered her true abilities to rewrite the story of her life. She now finds her passion in sharing the tools she's developed through her own life journey, and is now a guiding light to help others harness their own inner resilience as they overcome life's obstacles and live out their purpose with confidence and courage. So without further delay, let me give a warm welcome to Rebekah. Welcome to the Reality Practice podcast.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am excited to have you on. You've had quite a ride, to say the least. It's, as we evolve, as we grow, we all come from somewhere. We all start out a lot of times, a lot of people that are in the self-help industry that are making a difference in the world. We've all started out in some really bad places. It's life hasn't gone according to plan for a lot of us. Yet, you found the power to literally take control and rewrite your life. You recognized at some point, it's like, wait, this is not the reality. This is not what I dreamed of. How the hell did I get here? I want to hear this story. I'd love for you to share kind of how it all began. What was that evolution like? What got you out the door and opening your new door saying, I'm ready to conquer life instead of being a victim. So take it away. I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to share with you a little bit about my past and how I got to the point of deciding to be the victor of my own life instead of the victim. Like you said, I grew up in a religious cult. Life was pretty normal for us until I was about 6 or 7 years old, and we joined the group and just slowly dived in and got deeper and deeper and deeper into the teachings and the community. We ended up actually living on a compound from ages 10 to 16. And our belief system was very rigid. And I forced myself to fit into the box of what I thought would honor God and honor my parents. I was always tenacious and willing to do whatever it took. And so that being said, I decided to, live under what they said a woman should do. And that was all about being a helpmate to my father and one day my husband, not ever going to college, not pursuing a job, not being under anybody else's authority. And I did that. I was extremely unhappy. I remember as a little girl always having some sort of fire that I felt like I was called for more. But I really turned away from that, thinking it was sin. It was an ungodly desire because it didn't fit into that box. When I was 20, I got married. And that was a whole nother beast of its own. Obviously, when a marriage is arranged, it's not on the foundation of love. And in that situation, it was so much about control and being the helpmeet for somebody that I didn't love and who took advantage of that power. So all of this is happening. I'm turning my desires into fears in order to process not being able to live out the things that I dreamed of. I'm choosing things I can control, struggling with an eating disorder, getting to the point of not even wanting to live anymore, just praying that I wouldn't wake up the next morning. And through that, I had 3 children. And one day I started diving into self-help. I don't know where it started or why, but I started reading books and realizing that I could change and I could grow, and that my opportunity was limitless as long as I was willing to expand my thinking, my brain, and it was never going to go back. And so I just started growing. I started learning. And I started waking up and thinking, maybe this isn't right. And maybe I don't have to fit into this tiny box. And maybe the things that I've always wanted to do with my life are the things that I'm supposed to do. But the pivotal moment for me was after kind of coming to these realizations slowly after time, was one day looking at my daughter. And it was a big deal to me to teach my girls that they could go and do and achieve anything that they ever dreamed of. And I looked in the mirror and my heart sank because I was a complete hypocrite. And how could I take on this responsibility as a mother and teach my girls something that I wasn't willing to live out? There was no way I could do that. And at that point, the fear of what was to come was less than the discomfort of staying inside of that tiny little box. And I figured out what I needed to do. I walked away from the situation with my 3 kids, $3,000, 3 bags of clothes. I had never had a job. I had never lived out in normal society. I didn't have a high school diploma. I had never stepped foot in a school before. And we figured it out one day at a time.
Wow. I mean, that I have one word that comes to mind on that is, I mean, it is just courage, just outright courage from where you were stepping outside of that, you know. Something I want to touch on in your story, it's a lot of what I talk about with my clients, with my audience and everything, is how much we're programmed as children, you know, conditioned to believe certain things, you know, and being so isolated in a cult, religious cult. I mean, that is the epitome. That is literally, you were isolated from the rest of the world, only learning what you were being told as truth, as fact. So overcoming that programming had to have been just, I mean, a journey of all journeys, because you not only it's not like you had 1 or 2 things that you had to shift. You literally had to shift your entire paradigm, your entire reality of what you had been taught to believe. You know, our core beliefs are what form who we believe we are, you know, who we think we are. And you literally had to find the courage to stand up and say, I'm going a 180. Like, this is not me. There's more to it. I could tell as you were getting close to the end there on your story, you know, it still is emotional. I mean, your eyes look like they were getting teared up there, you know, when you're talking about your children and being the hypocrite. We've all been there. We all have been a hypocrite to our lives in certain times, you know. So it really, that resonated a lot with me, because I've got children of my own, and it's, you know, I try to lead by example, as we all do, but I think a lot of times we find ourselves, you know, teaching from our seat, or not, you know, do as I say, not as I
Not as I
do
do. Yep.
mentality. And it's it's just repetitive. You do hit another thing there that uh I just I got into yesterday. I did a video. I'm getting ready to do a video today on it about the emotional loop and
Mhm.
how that keeps us locked in and stuck
Mhm.
in that way of thinking. It's you
Mhm.
have your emotions and those drive thoughts in your mind, and the thoughts come up, for you. You're stuck there. You're thinking, this is my life, this is my role, this is how I'm supposed to live, and there's no other way.
Mhm.
Those thoughts then circle down and create more emotions, fear,
Mhm.
panic,
Mhm.
distraught. Like, where do you
Mhm.
go from there? So then it even goes, then it builds more thoughts in your mind of, that fearful, like, what do I do? I can't get out. I have to cling harder. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people are trapped in that sense, especially
Mhm.
coming from that sort of a background, because
Mhm.
it just continues that
Yep.
hamster wheel of
Yeah.
perpetual
Yeah.
fear. What happens if you leave? How did
Yeah.
you literally, how did you find the courage to leave that situation? It sounds like 99 out of 100 people couldn't do what you have done, what you did, in all likelihood, because it just took
Mhm.
so much strength.
Mhm.
Where did that come from?
That's a good question. One thing I did before I made the decision to leave was I did not leave a stone unturned. And I think that was a huge, huge part of my decision and my confidence and my courage was I knew I gave it all I had. It was not an idea, not a counselor, not a book, not a theory that I did not pursue to try to make the situation work. Um, and I knew there was nothing else I could do, and it was no longer under my control. So I think really focusing on what you can control and giving it your all, and being okay with your all not being enough to make it okay. And as you do that, you will find the confidence in yourself growing because you are choosing to accept the reality of the situation you're in and take wise action to make it better. And once you reach that line that your wise action is not going to create a better reality, you shift and you do something different. My wise action made things worse, right? The more I dove into, let's make this better, this isn't okay, the more I stuck up for myself, the more it turned into a violent situation that I no longer even felt safe in. So when you lean into what's right, when you lean into reality, when you lean into choosing to try to make that reality better, the clarity will come and you'll know exactly what you need to do. And the shift will happen inside of you that has to happen as you make the little changes every day. We all think courage and resilience is this giant decision. And it's not. It's not like you just wake up one day and like, fuck this, I'm just going to walk away. No, it's the little things that you do leading up to it. And everybody is capable of that tiny little thing. And that's all it takes is that tiny thing today. That's it. Today. Don't worry about tomorrow or yesterday. It's today. Do that one thing and you'll know what you need to do tomorrow.
That's some awesome, amazing advice. I mean, I talk about that often. It's celebrate the little wins.
Yeah.
Were you better today than you were
Mm-hmm.
yesterday? If the answer
Yeah.
is yes, you're succeeding. You don't
Yep.
have to make titanic leaps,
No. No.
to feel like you're really making a difference. You just
No.
have to get better today than you were yesterday. And life's just a gradual, continual, we are
Yes.
evolving, we're getting
Yes.
better.
Yeah.
I mean, you you talk a lot about ownership of your
Mm-hmm.
life and of your
Yep.
circumstances. I mean,
Yep.
in order to make that massive shift
Mm-hmm.
in realities that you did, what type of ownership did you have to take
Yeah.
on and recognize within yourself? Because there's a lot of shit packed in there
Yeah.
that has to start coming out in
Mm-hmm.
order to own it. What
Mm-hmm.
what sort of steps did you take, and kind of what were the first things you really had to start owning within yourself?
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. So, I told the story of walking away from all of that and that took a lot of courage. And then about a year after I walked away from my previous life, I woke up and guys, I wasn't happy. It was hard. Our divorce took 3 years, and that was a story all on its own. But
Aren't they
I
always when they a
they
couple
are.
2-3 year divorces?
Yeah,
I went
yeah,
through one
very
of
exciting.
those. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can understand and relate.
Yeah. But I woke up and it's like, I sacrificed everything, and I did it for myself, but for my kids. And I wasn't happy. Life wasn't any better. And I'm like, why did I do all of this? What did I have to gain? And that's when ownership started for me. Um, I was in a cycle of blame and hurt and resentment. I hated my dad because I trusted him. And what I was left with was an abusive ex and father to 3 children who has no business being a father. And I was very angry with my ex-husband too, because he stripped away every ounce of dignity that I ever had. And at that point, I realized that ownership was going to be the key. And I was so afraid to let my past off the hook, and to decide that today going forward, I'm going to accept what is today, but I'm going to make tomorrow better. And the ways that I did that, so much of it was a habit loop of my thoughts. And although I wasn't sure at the time how to retrain my subconscious mind, I knew I could do little things different. And so I stopped coasting through life. And it was the dumbest things I would do, but I would brush my teeth with the opposite hand. I would put on the opposite sock on the first time, just to wake up and be aware of the situation, to wake up and to take control of my thoughts, to take control of my physical action every day in order to reprogram how I was choosing to go about my life. And so I just started doing things different, and I started making decisions that would serve myself today and going forward. And I chose to forgive, and I chose to let everybody off the hook. And what I uncovered through that was the need to forgive myself and to let myself off the hook. And I think that's where we get so hung up on ownership, that we're really afraid of our own power, and really afraid of the peace that comes with forgiving ourselves, because really that's who we're left with at the end of the day. And I fell in love with myself and realized that I could come home to me. I didn't have to run anymore, that it was a safe place, that I could provide everything I needed. And it was all in the little decisions every day to brush my teeth with the opposite hand. It was in awareness, and it was in forgiveness.
You hit on so many important aspects there. I want to kind of go down one at a time there,
Yeah.
and
Break it down.
address
Let's go.
each
I
of them.
love this stuff.
I think one of the key fundamental aspects for all of us is happiness, obviously. I mean, we're here to be happy. We're here to experience joy. God didn't put us here to toil and, just hate life and be miserable.
Suffering.
He put, suffering. That is bullshit. Suffering is a necessary trigger to get us pushed in the right direction. Most people get caught in that loop, like you said, though, of I'm a victim, I'm suffering, woe is me. And what really changed for you, what really was like that catalyst, was you looked in the mirror and you weren't happy. There's nobody else but you that matters when it comes to your reality. I mean, you're creating it, and you love that you made that conscious decision. You recognized it. You were aware. I'm not happy. What's going to make me happy? I don't know, but it's not this. And I think that's a huge step. That's a huge lesson for everyone watching, is if you are not happy where you're at, what you're doing, really look at it, really assess it. Is this something that needs to be removed? It may be something small. It may be complete paradigm shift of your reality, like you did. It's everybody has an area in their life that they're not happy with, and taking ownership, beautiful. I mean, you did such an amazing job. You're so powerful in overcoming that. I want to get into one of the questions I actually had for you, was the topic of forgiveness. Everybody talks about forgiving others. Oh, love thy neighbor, forgive, compassion. But we forget often that the forgiveness is about ourselves. 9 times out of 10. Has somebody done us wrong? Sure. Can we get angry? Sure. Can we forgive them? Sure. But at the end of the day, the only one that's creating the circumstance or the action that we think we need to forgive was our own subconscious mind projecting it out. So spot on. We have to learn to forgive ourselves. I believe, I talk about it in the talk I give when I rewrote my DNA. I did it through the power of compassion, forgiveness, and love. And I really, the moral of that whole talk was, I did forgive those who wronged me or I perceived as wronging me, but really I had to forgive myself for the lies I'd allowed myself to believe were true. The stories I'd been telling myself, we come here to forget and remember everything, in the process. That's the journey. So compassion for ourselves, forgiveness for ourselves is such a monumental key in creating the reality you want, so
absolutely.
Dive into some, can you go more into the aspect of forgiveness, of compassion? What did you find? What demons? Let's go here. Because when you have to forgive yourself, it's really a matter of forgiving yourself for the things we've done and really coming to terms with the things we've done. And we beat ourselves up over that. Really beat ourselves up. So,
we do.
But
we do. And we're our own worst enemies when it comes to our own judgment and shoulds and shame that we really blanket ourselves in. So forgiveness of myself, I would say, was the hardest part. It was easier to look at the situation of the people that hurt me and have empathy for them and why they were the way they were, and to release them from my own hatred and resentment. But when it came to myself, I was so upset with the decisions that I had made. You could have decided not to walk down that aisle. You could have just gone to college and risked being disowned by your family and being disowned by what you thought, by God. You didn't have to have those babies. Now look at you. You're such a horrible mother. You brought these children into the world and look at the lives that they have. This was what was going on in my head and what I had to wrap my mind around. But the reality is, today and every day, this is the situation you're in and you're doing the best you can. And had it been anybody else and anyone else's story, I would have looked at them and been like, you fucking did the best you could. How were you supposed to know that you shouldn't be walking down that aisle? How were you supposed to know in the circumstances that you were in that you had a choice, that, maybe you shouldn't have children when it was like your divine calling as a woman to have children? How are you supposed to know? And I would pour that empathy into somebody else, but I wasn't willing to do that for myself. Well, wake up. If you can't do that for yourself, you really can't do it for anybody else. Right. And it's a choice. It's a choice to take a high perspective of your life, to get outside of your own narrative and to forgive. And it's a choice to do that every single day. It's not a one and done. It's not some moment that you have these great feelings and you're just good to go forever. It's a choice every day. But we have the power to change that narrative every day. That's what's so amazing about being a human, guys. Everyone has this power. I'm not anything special, nothing special. We all can do this. It's awareness and it's a choice to do the work. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Well said. Absolutely. Would you agree in what you were saying there about the idea of forgiveness and everything? I think one of the big things about forgiveness is that we overlook is the idea that we're trying to forgive ourselves for the past, which doesn't even really exist. It's only the thought of the past. And then we're trying to forgive ourselves already for the future, which doesn't even exist. because you're like, oh, my kids, and I want the best for them. And, we beat ourselves up over it. And it's like we get caught in this fake reality, the illusion that the past has any effect on us, the future has any effect on us. There's only now. But we get so stuck in trying to forgive ourselves for the things that we perceive to have done in the past.
You
can't change the past. The past is what it is, But
and our perspective of who we are today is so different than what the reality was in the past, right? Like if we showed up in the past as our current state, it would be a completely different story. And I think you hit the nail on the head. The more we focus on both the past and the future, the less we're able to show up and make ourselves proud today. And I think that has probably been one of the biggest keys, which I didn't hit on though, is letting it all go and doing my best today, and just waking up and doing that again tomorrow. And getting so caught up in all of this can really fuck with our ability to do our best today.
Yes, it can. The subconscious mind has such a power over all of us, some more than others, but the stories that just keep getting repeated about the things we think we should have done differently. I love how you said it, doing the best you can. When we love ourselves, when we forgive ourselves, when we're compassionate with ourselves, and we just beat ourselves up over bullshit that cannot be controlled. It's so refreshing, to remind ourselves, you're doing the best you can. Can you do better? I'm sure we could all put forth more effort, but the fact is we survived. You survived yesterday. You did the best you could. We don't know. We don't know what the plan is. We don't know where we're supposed to be, when things are supposed to happen. There are no coincidences, but we have to just love ourselves and know that we're exactly where we need to be at this exact moment, doing it exactly the way we're supposed to for this phase, for this part of our evolution,
Absolutely.
So you talked about, the victim mentality. Do you feel, I know I've spent most of my life living in that victim mentality, blaming my father abandoning me, abuse, drugs, alcohol, you name it. I was a victim. Woe is me. What do you think, people should know, I guess, about the mentality of that victimhood, because you lived in it for so long. I hate to say you're an expert in victimhood, but coming from where you came from and what you experienced, it's got to be hard, to step outside, to shift that paradigm. Sorry about that. It's got to be hard to step outside and shift that paradigm when you've only known victimhood, especially in your marriage. You said it was abusive. You were there to do his bidding. You were the victim, in a sense.
Oh, absolutely.
So, could you share that with us, especially for the women out there? It's, not that it's a guy girl thing, but I know there's a lot of women out there that are stuck in a relationship, stuck in abuse, stuck in that victim role. What kind of advice can you give them to push them through, to help them find the courage?
I would say the best advice I can give them is there's nothing better than complete freedom. And complete freedom isn't about money or finance, the ability to do it what you want when you want. It's not about any of the things we really associate freedom with. It's about the inner work of taking ownership for your life. And you give away your power and your happiness and your ability to live out your purpose when you choose to be a victim. And I understand feeling stuck. I understand feeling like you don't have any of the resources, that it's not possible, but I promise that it is. And what I said earlier about making tiny changes every single day, that's what it takes. It doesn't take a massive move right now. It takes the tiny changes, and you will arrive and the people will show up and you'll have exactly what you need to get out of the situation that you're in. I promise it's not going to be easy. I promise it's going to be hard. It's going to be grueling. And I promise that it'll be worth it. And if you're looking for a sign, this is it.
Very well said. It definitely is worth it. I don't think there's anything more worth it than to
No.
take back a person's life and to take
Yep.
back the freedom that we each have. We're given that freedom. And for many of us, it's stolen from us. We don't even realize. We think we're free, like you said, but we don't really know freedom when we're not able to be ourselves. We're not able to be our authentic, true self, and to share that with the world, to let that shine.
Yeah. And if you're questioning whether you're worth it or whether you have freedom or not, if you're questioning it, you don't. And everybody deserves it. There's not a person on earth that deserves not to have the freedom to live out their purpose and to be their best self. And you listening, you're one of those people. You deserve it. And you need to take the actions that you need to take to get it.
Very beautifully said. Let's tap into, the healing work that you did and kind of what you do as far as helping people heal now and work through things. Did you experience any sort of dark night of the soul throughout all of this process, or did you go deep? And you obviously went deep inside, and those demons were pulled out, but they talk about in the spiritual communities, I'm going through the dark night of the soul, or, I went through it. I know I experienced it. And I just didn't know if you had any experience with it, if that's really what happened for you during this awakening. Do you have any?
Yeah, I would say the season before I woke up and decided to take ownership of my life and was really struggling, living as a victim out of, after I had left my husband and my community. I would equate that to the dark night of the soul. And it was dark, and it was physically painful, going through the grief and the heartbreak and the questions and what felt like I was losing everything. I just remember, like, I didn't know that heartbreak was a physical feeling. And that was something that I experienced for a long time. What was the rest of the question?
Oh, it was really just the idea of, did you experience a dark night of the soul in a sense? That's definitely the heartbreak going deep down. I think that saying is, those that love the most have hurt the most or have lost the most. And, for you, that you come from a place of such love now, you really had to go in and destroy, and kill off that old version of you that wasn't you, that wasn't free, that was chained down. I know I killed off the version of mine, previous self a few different times. I found out just recently I've still got a little work to do, in certain areas. But that's we always do, right?
And as I decided to take ownership for my life, I had a lot of work to do. Trauma is real, guys. It lives in your body. Your body keeps score, and awareness is the key to really breaking free from that, and finding people that can help you put tools in your toolbox. You have a lot of what you need, but you need some outside resources to get through some of those dark times. I got really curious about what my triggers were, and then really curious about my responses, and then really curious about how I had the power to change those responses. EMDR therapy was a really spiritual experience for me. I would feel the darkness leave my body, like feel it from my toes and released from my head. And you just have to figure out what works for you, because it's worth every penny, it's worth every ounce of pain, it's worth all of the work to put into your own freedom. And that's really what it's all about, is taking your power back and healing from the inside out. And what's incredible is to watch women, anybody really, just the beauty that comes from that healing. It's better than any Botox or surgery or anything you could ever do. It's just, it radiates, and it's worth everything you got to give.
I can agree with you completely. I get to watch my wife, as she goes through her own journey over the last few years, for sure. The woman she's becoming that's inside of her, the beauty, the radiance. I understand completely what you mean, and she doesn't have nearly the trauma that you and I have suffered, and others, but we all still have those little things that are in there. And it doesn't matter how big or small, we got to get them out. And as we get them out, we start to reveal that side of us that is meant to be here, that side of us that's meant to make a difference on the world, to impact others.
Absolutely.
And that leads right into what you're doing now. Tell us about what a resilience expert is.
All right. Well, what I'm doing now is actually even shifting in the last couple of weeks, because I just got the news that the paperwork all went through, and we're really leading with a nonprofit that I started. It's been on my heart for years, and it's coming to fruition. And so what we do, our nonprofit is called Emotional Justice, and we help men and women with the gap of a retainer fee for an attorney. So you do your inner work and decide to get out of a difficult situation, and we're going to help you protect your children and protect yourselves during that time. This all comes from a complete place of my own brokenness. I experienced every mom's worst nightmare, and my 2-year-old son was kidnapped while I was in the process of leaving. And my children were separated for a couple of months. And because I did not have a good attorney, were not protected. And that has its implications in my children's life up to today. And so we're going to go make a difference for everybody else, which I am so honored to be a part of. And along with that, I help women get their lives back. And courage is one thing. We need courage to get out, but we need resilience to find our freedom. And for me personally, I went from not even knowing how to exist in society, how to interact with people, how to even get a job, how to have good relationships, all of that kind of stuff. I figured it out, and I was really alone in that process. And so now I help women get through that season of their life with help, with support, and not having to do it alone, so they can step into their purpose, build their resilience muscle, and go out and give their gifts to the world, which I strongly believe we all came here this time around the sun for a purpose. And I'm so honored to be a part of people living that out.
That is awesome. What a great cause, especially, with the non-for-profit. It sounds like you're willing, if I understand you right, you're willing to help people financially with their legal issues, but it sounded like they've got to be working on themselves. You're not just helping anybody off the street. Like, people have got to want to make the change. They've got to be showing that they're consciously working on healing themselves. So that's a really targeted niche there,
Yes. But think about
awesome.
it, there's so much you're in control of. You can control, your decision to leave. You can control your decision to get a job, a place to live, your own inner healing. But so you don't manifest $15,000 out of the sky when you're in like the most difficult season of your life. And if we can help you do that part and take that weight off of your shoulders so you're safe and you can put all your effort into healing, think of what can be accomplished in that situation.
So much, I think that's what holds most of us back from being able to heal and being able to do that work, because it takes time, right? But all of us are stuck in that 9 to 5. The majority of the world stuck in that 9 to 5. If I don't make the payments, if I don't pay the bills, I don't have a place to live. I don't feed my family. It's that fear. We just get stuck in that idea of fear, but the system's been designed that way. It's been designed to control and entrap as many of us as they can into this worker bee system where they know if they tire us out trying to just survive, then at the end of the day, nobody has the energy or the time to actually spend an hour or two trying to dive in and work on themselves. All they can do is find the remote control, lay back and just zone out, to Netflix, because
and watch whatever the system wants to put in our heads.
yes, for more programming of just repetitive. It never ends. I think you are so well equipped to help women on this journey of getting out, discovering themselves, finding their true self, because you literally did it from scratch. It's not like you had a nest egg. You didn't have a war chest like, okay, I'm ready to go conquer the world. You literally had to learn how to do this and to leave and to start completely over, one step at a time. And I think that is so needed, that wisdom that you now have. You're not just somebody teaching something you learned in a book. You're teaching from real life experience that you've been fortunate to share. I say that because
absolutely,
right.
I feel 100% gratitude for the life that I've lived up to this point. I know that my life falling apart was exactly what I needed to put the pieces back together for my light to be able to shine through and lead others to their freedom. And I love it, and I'm passionate about it, and grateful that I have this opportunity to be here now doing exactly what I'm doing.
And that right there, that answer is what separates you and other people like us from a lot of the rest of the world, because you could say, I didn't hesitate in saying you're fortunate to have had that, your previous life experiences. How many people would I say that to? And they would get pissed, be like, what do you mean fortunate? I hated my life and I this, I that. And they just go straight to that negative. And it's hard until you've done the inner work to see the beauty in the chaos and to get for what it was. So very well done. I applaud you, Rebekah. Your strength, your courage. You are a fighter for sure. And you are a shining light for many at this point. So awesome. Where can people, before we get to the last question, where can people find you? I'm going to put some links in the comments, description box below, but you want to share real quick where people can find you? How can they reach out? How can they work with you? Take it away.
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram, Rebekah, Beka.Chamberlain. You can find me on Facebook, Rebekah Chamberlain, Rebekah. And then my website is bekahchamberlain.com. You can shoot me a message on either platform, or you can also fill out a form on my website and reach out to me that way. I'd love, even if you're just a woman waking up to the situation you're in, I would love to hear your story. I would love to support you however I can. And our nonprofit is just going live. So ask questions. We're getting all of that page up and ready to go. But if you're interested, want to donate, want to be a part of what we're doing, please reach out. We're just excited to spread the word and become a household name across the nation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for what you're doing. Keep up the good work. That's not easy, I know, but you are making an impact and a difference for many lives, hopefully many, many more lives as we move forward here. So time for the final last question I ask every
Okay.
guest. And since this show focuses on creating your own reality, if you could, at the snap of your fingers right now, create any reality you desire, what would you do? What would you create and why?
I would create a reality that everybody understood the power they had within themselves, that the fear of taking ownership and forgiving other people for their past and the fear of really their own power is the tool they need to live the life that they deserve to. And that's also what unlocks their purpose and their power. And the world would be such an incredible place if we were all walking out of our heart and our purpose, making a difference. So I would wake the world up.
That is beautiful. I'm in full agreement with you, and I want to see that world come to fruition as well, so that we all can understand the true power we each have, and in creating the reality, the beautiful present moment and the coming future that awaits us all. So gosh, Rebekah,
I'm committed to doing my part. So
you do you keep shining bright, spreading your love, your light, your joy, your wisdom with the world, and it will reflect in your own life. I have no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Rebekah, for coming on, taking the time to join me today and to share your journey with the audience. I want to thank everybody who's taking the time to listen to this today as well. If you like this interview, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your community, with your friends, if it resonated with you. If you want to see more videos just like this, more episodes and interviews, make sure to hit the subscribe button and be notified of any upcoming episodes. Right now, they're coming out each Wednesday as far as new interviews, and then videos throughout the week as well. So until next time, guys, thanks again for watching. Stay blessed, and always remember to ask yourself, what reality are you choosing to create today? Bye now.